It felt like I was going crazy because there's so much misinformation online. And every time I jumped from one thing to another, it felt like I had to start all over again. Living things move, dead things don't. You know, chicken breast is good for you, drinking your water, walk 10,000 steps. You know this already, but why aren't you doing it? You know the steps to fat loss, losing 10 to 15 pounds within the next 6 weeks is possible. You've probably done it before, but you aren't doing it. Or fat loss at this point feels like something that you're completely giving hope on. Like you're looking at GLP-1s, you're looking at peptides, trying to speed up this process because you've done the dieting, you've done the keto, you've done the fasting, you've done the HIIT workouts, the strength workouts, all types of things, but you're not getting the type of results that you really want to see. Like when you look in the mirror that you can feel confident in. Like, yes, this is what I look like. I'm with you. I've been in the same exact place. I've been a former athlete who's shown up day in and day out, hitting the weights, literally benching 225 10 times at 16 years old. And going to see myself from that point into being crazily overweight, 260 pounds at 5'11". I remember when I used to go to sleep, I would have sleep apnea. People would wake me up in the middle of the night just to check on me. My mom used to be like, is everything okay? You stopped breathing, you look like you was about to die. And my health was at jeopardy. The same former athlete who is deadlifting 400, 500 pounds is now having chronic back pain, and I would have to sleep on the floor. Sleeping on the floor it's underneath your feet. It's not comfortable. And I was trying to do anything to get my life in order with little band-aids and fixes. But when it came down to it, I was still lifting 4 or 5 times a week. I was still showing up. So I just didn't know what was happening, what was going wrong, and I finally solved it. And I'm gonna share the same exact steps with you today. Now, the one thing that most people miss, especially in their fat loss journey, that can make it successful or complete failure, it comes down to literally 3 things, 3 simple things. Before we hop into that, in my line of work that I come from, in corporate America, I was doing digital marketing. I would go down to Wall Street in New York. I would hop on the train, packed train, of course. I'm getting my face pushed against the door because it's so packed. Get off, irritated, go to get breakfast before work started, and get 2 bagels and cream cheese. 1 bagel would have lox, 1 bagel with cream cheese with bacon. I'll get those 2, pick that up, get into the office, make me a granola and green tea combo. That was my thing, the Nature Valley green, the little green bars. And I would get green tea, and I'll put mad honey in it because it wasn't sweet. I didn't want to use sugar. Sugar wasn't good. You know, sugar is gonna spike my blood sugar, so I wanted to use honey. Get that set up, sit down, and I'll never forget my coworker to the left of me, Alex, white girl from, I think, like, Ohio. Used to be like, hey, good morning, Jonathan. Are you gonna eat all that? And I was like, oh my gosh, the nerve of this little white woman. Yes, I'm gonna eat all that. Mind your business. And looking back, I'm like, that was an interesting way of her showing care, because that was a lot of food. Because once I was done, what I would do after is I'd go in the snack room, and that's about an hour later, I'll get peanut butter pretzels. And I would get like a good handful, 2 or 3 of those. And then for lunch, to try to clean it up, I would bring food from home. The idea is, the way that I started my day, by the time I got home, and again, my face is getting pushed against the door, it's rush hour in New York City, completely horrible. I remember people stepping on my shoes. I couldn't do anything about it. Yeah, we don't have guns in New York. And getting home stressed, irritated, frustrated from my day, feeling tired and drained, because look how I started my day. I would get home and open up an app, and now I'm just choosing, what do I really want? I got my favorite spots on Uber Eats. I got my little DoorDash. I'm comparing prices. I'm seeing what's hitting where. Order me some food that might be something new, but really something I know I can depend on. Go on Netflix, and I'll start looking for something to watch. By the time it was 7:30, I had a whole ordeal. I got cozy. I got myself a little drink, got my food, got my Netflix, and now I'm kicking back. By the time the movie's over, it's 9 p.m., and I gotta get ready for work the next day. And then I would go to sleep, and then the cycle continues. And that's how easy it is to just fall into a trap and gain all that weight. The reality is, that food really comforted me. It made me feel like I was in a safe place. It gave me a place where I didn't feel judged. Like, the food can't say nothing to me. And at work, it's a critical place where performance is needed. And that's how my feelings started to be coped with. Instead of me thinking about or journaling or praying about it even, I'm turning to a plate and turning towards food. And that's ultimately what an idol looks like. And with having an idol, something that gets exalted and put up into your life, you also turn to it in any time of need. So when I felt upset, I'm gonna eat. If I felt happy, I'm gonna eat. If I felt depressed, sad, I'm gonna eat. Eating is something that is hard to find as a coping mechanism because even though it gets treated as a drug, it's not seen as one because it's a necessity. You have to eat or else you die. It gets masked under that premise of it being a necessity. It's a need, but then it gets treated as a want. You get to make your needs into wants because you don't need a fried chicken platter. And it affected my faith big time. Instead of me having a time with God where I could give him my heart, my soul, my thoughts, and be able to converse with him in secret moments, it made me rely on food a lot more. So when I was frustrated, I wasn't thinking about praying. I wasn't thinking about journaling, opening it up to God and saying, hey, Lord, help me. I want to see your kingdom come. I want your will to be done in my life. I'm frustrated. I'm sad. And food became the response signal on which I could feel better through. And the reality is, which is funny enough, after the 10, 15 minutes of eating, I returned back to the same feelings. And that's anything, any sin, anything that you see in this world, the short exchange is going to always be temporary. I can eat as much as I want. I don't have my foundation based on the Lord. I'm always going to be running into the same cycle. I hit rock bottom at one point where I got to my biggest and my largest, where I just felt so tired and so sick, literally physically, of myself that I didn't know what to do. I was a former athlete. I used to do such amazing things, and now it feels like my body is barely holding itself together. I was already working out. I was sprinting. I was already doing athlete things, but I didn't know how to make it a lifestyle. And because of how tired I felt, it also showed up in my professional life. I had less capacity to work. I always wanted to cut out. I couldn't really push myself as much because mentally and emotionally, I'm drained. And then physically, I'm not even feeling that confident. I don't feel like walking out or going to happy hours. I feel like I'm gonna get judged for my weight. I try to mask it under being a tough guy and, I'm just a larger dude type of approach. But really, I'm not confident in my body. I don't feel certain in talking to the women in the office or any type of people at all. I can't make eye contact with them. Out of it, it really helped me create a structure of these three main things that completely will change your game, especially with fat loss, because the reality is, it wasn't the information that was missing. Information is always free, but the application is a completely different topic. You know what to do exactly. Chicken breast is good for you, drinking your water, walk 10,000 steps. You know this already, but why aren't you doing it? You know the steps to fat loss, losing 10 to 15 pounds within the next 6 weeks is possible. You've probably done it before, but you aren't doing it. And the reality is, number one, you have fail guaranteed planning. The way you plan is how you plan to fail. So you don't have anything really in place for you to follow any type of structure because you think you can just free will it because you know it so much. The reality is, in work, you don't have the luxury of just doing whatever you want. You actually have roles and assignments dictated just for you to complete. Same thing in school. You have a curriculum to follow on a week-by-week basis, assignments and homework to hand in, and that keeps you on track and knows if you're behind or you're ahead. The reason why you're struggling so much with fat loss is because you don't even understand what the curriculum looks like. What does each week need to look like for you to be successful? Because you keep doing random things. The more you do random things, you're gonna get more random results. And I couldn't have that no more. I couldn't keep doing it week over week of just the guessing games, the Googling, the YouTubing, the TikTok. I couldn't do it. It felt like I was going crazy because there's so much misinformation online. And every time I jumped from one thing to another, it felt like I had to start all over again. And that process made me crumble almost down to tears. All I wanted was to have a healthy, confident, strong body. It felt like everything I tried was just taking away from that. Which leads me to point number 2. Lack of urgency. With the same information that you have, you don't move towards it. One of my most difficult obstacles was pushing things back. I'm going to get it done, but just not right now. The only thing that woke me up out of procrastination and not ever needing motivating again was knowing my why. Why am I doing this? If you had your mother or your father, God forbid, end up in the hospital, or just a loved one in general, who were in desperate need in the hospital, and they called you, you would drop everything to be at their side. If it was one of their last moments, the person that you love the most, the one that has your heart, the one that you think of right now in this moment, if they called you and needed you, you would drop everything. Your boss is like, hey, where you going? Your professor's like, hey, where you going? You would tell him, hey, listen, this is the most important thing right now. In this moment, I'll worry about everything else later, but in this moment, this is what it requires of me. I'm gonna show up and show out. It's no different with your health and wellness goals. You don't have a strong enough why. Your urgency, your motivation, it's on zero because you don't know what motivates you in the first place. You don't know what moves you out of bed. You want to do 5 a.m. workouts, but you don't have a reason why to do it. You're not going to lose sleep and motivation to do it. My why has become the pinnacle of my motivation. And it's because if I'm alive, then I move. It's something just based on Genesis 1. When I go and look at God's word and I see what he commanded living things to do, they move. The creepy crawly things, the trees growing. When he breathed life into Adam and he moved. If I am alive, that means I ought to move. Living things move, dead things don't. And my why is, if I am alive today, then I ought to move. And that doesn't always mean lifting. That doesn't always mean just a green head workout. It means going for a walk, going for a stretch, doing some calisthenics, just moving. And that same urgency has become a part of the identity that I've created for myself, that creates non-negotiables in my life that I will never trade off for. So start asking yourself, what's your why? Number 3, it's just the way I am. It's a common phrase that I caught myself saying. It's just the way I am. I'm just big bone. I was just born that way. Man, I can't see results like that. It's just the way that I am. This is what I do. Just how it came, just how God made me. And it's a cop-out answer of thinking, well, it's just my body type, it's my body figure. You could completely reconstruct your body if you wanted to. If you are actually dedicated to. It's better to say that I don't want to than to say this is just how I am. Oh, if I eat that, I'm just going to blow up. If I do that exercise, if I drink creatine, I'm just going to blow up. No. You just don't have any self-control to actually know the numbers and how to track it properly to know what's happening. Because with data, you get to know what works and what doesn't work in real time. So if you feel like the creatine blows you up, well, you look at the foods that you have when you drink creatine. But the thing is, you can't just cop out and say that's how you are. Everyone has the opportunity to change and grow. And I used to say the same thing. I remember I used to go thrifting so much, and I used to find like the types of clothes that I would dream of having. I would find them for dirt cheap. And I remember these pair of pants specifically. They were like True Religion pants. I love throwback vintage stuff. I put these Truies on, and I'm in the dressing room. I'm trying to squeeze them on, and I'm like, dang, like I really love these pants. They were like the blue ones with the white stitching, or like the throwback ones, and I couldn't fit them for nothing. And then I was just like, well, that's just how I am. I just got bigger legs. I was just fat. I was just big. It's not just the way I am. I have an opportunity to make a change. And I started to realize that when I started going to the gym and actually putting intentionality into what I did, instead of being random. Random things get you random results. Detailed things get you detailed results. So no wonder I wasn't seeing the results I wanted, and I was just copping out and saying this is just the way I am because I wasn't tracking anything. Data men lie, women lie. 2 things that will never lie to you are God and numbers. If you're really hearing what I'm saying, identity change is always going to be 1,000 times better than the fitness information that you think is going to be groundbreaking. You've seen enough fitness information out there. You already, chicken breast, broccoli, how much? 1 palm of protein, 1 fist of veggies, 1 fistful of carbs. Hopefully it gets you somewhere, but then you might over-restrict, put yourself in a box, and then end up starting all over again. If you've been through this process enough times, you know that the information is not changing anything. You need an identity change. You need to change who you are, how you see fitness, and the type of person that you want to become. And only then is going to stick permanently. The weight will never come back. You'll never need motivation, and you'll never find yourself in the same place ever again. And if you want to be that type of person who is fit, who is disciplined, consistent, and motivated, then I want to give you the structure, the accountability, and the support. Because like anyone who goes into the military, you need to be incubated into a system that is teaching and feeding you how to become this new person. How do you dare do it on your own if you're not that person? If you're not following someone else, if you're not having some type of image or structure to follow of someone else who's already done it, then how are you going to do it yourself if you've never done it? You can't. Hear me out. Now the time that'll take you, the years that you don't even know, I promise you, you can play with time. Time is one thing that you'll never get back. So if you want to play with time, be my guest. But for those who understand what I just said about urgency, you don't have as much time as you think. And our youth, we like to think of it like that, like, oh, I just got time. Yeah, I could get to that. I could get to that. I could get to that until boom, it's at your door and it's knocking. It's knocking at your door and it's testing you. Are you really ready as much as you said you were? Let's see. Boom. I hope you are. But for those who know they want to make this structure, make this change, click the link in my description. We'll chat about however way I can possibly help. If you want to make that change, if you want to be disciplined, consistent, motivated, and not have to be at a loss for trying to figure it out all the time and feeling doubtful and feeling confused and frustrated, like, why isn't this working? Hit that link in the description.